This meeting is being recorded.
Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Amirah Khan podcast. Today, I'm excited to be joined by Amirah. Amirah, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited to do this. I always love the prospect of meeting new people, and you're someone I met recently, so it's just cool to talk to you. And I think the funniest thing you said to me when I met you was, if you did not approach me, I would not approach you. And that was
Yeah,
hilarious. And it's just so true though, because I feel like there's a lot of people out there like that where they won't approach others. They'll kind of wait for it to happen, kind of a thing.
yeah, I would consider myself like an introverted type of person. I don't mind having casual talk. Like, you started a conversation with me and we started talking, but I I wouldn't find myself like approaching someone first and just, casually talking to someone.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you said you like the introverted thing because when I was talking to you, it felt like you struck me as an extroverted person, which is
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I don't have social anxiety or I don't struggle to have conversation with new people, but like I said, I think it's more the first step, like taking that first step to approach someone. And I don't think I would really do that. I wouldn't go out of my way to do that.
Yeah. I remember it was like a year ago where I was telling one of my friends, I was like, man, I feel like I always have to instigate conversations with people in general, and I hate it.
Yeah,
But then I realized, like, no, it's actually a really cool thing. And it reminds me of something that Charles Bukowski once said, which was, nothing extraordinary happened in my life unless I made it happen, or something like that. Like, he had to take action for
he
it to
had to.
happen. And I feel
I
like that
mean,
happens a lot with me.
sometimes I do wish like I was more like that. I would put myself out there more, or I would be the one to take the first step. But I don't know. I think my whole life I've kind of just been that way. So it's kind of hard to break out of like old habits.
Yeah, but I still think that's cool though, to just kind of like be in your own zone. And I remember we talked about this when I met you as well about the concept of regret. And I asked, like, do you regret, not like approaching people or like
Yeah.
instigating things? What was your take on that again?
Um, I would say I don't really have regrets when it comes to that. And that's mainly because I am pretty aware of like the situations I put myself in, or like I'm telling you, I'm more on the introverted side. I wouldn't approach someone first. So it's less of like, oh, I have regrets. I didn't talk to that person because I kind of accepted that I'm making those decisions and like I've put myself in that situation. So if I really wanted to talk to someone, like I would just have to take that leap and do it. But I don't really regret it because those are kind of decisions I don't really hold too seriously or take too seriously. So I don't really have regrets when it comes to that.
It was really powerful when you said accepting. So I feel like
Yeah.
acceptance really holds that. Like when you accept a thing, it really alters your perspective. And I
Yeah.
think in a powerful way. It can be in a really powerful way.
Mhm.
You just kind of become at peace with things.
Yeah, it's more like I'm at peace with I guess I don't want to say the way I am, but of course everyone can grow and everyone can have improvements. But when it comes to that type of stuff, like I have friends that are super extroverted and they'll talk to strangers, they'll make conversation with people they don't even know, but I'm more like reserved. I wouldn't say I'm shy, I'm more reserved.
Mm. What would you say is the difference between being reserved and shy?
I think reserved is kind of just okay, so for me, like how we had our conversation, right? If I was super shy, I probably wouldn't have been able to have carry that conversation with you. But I'm just more on the reserve side, so I don't, I guess, open up easily, or it's that more like extroverted perspective. Like I can just put myself out there. That's
It's a good
how
way.
I view it.
Yeah, that is a good way to put it. Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, I think it's all about perspective and how willing I am to put myself out there or talk to someone.
Yeah. And I've been thinking about perspective and perception a lot more this past semester, the past 4 or 5 months.
Hmm.
I met this one person who said, you really don't know someone unless they start talking.
Yeah,
And it really hit me. It's so true. Like, you
I
just
think that's
don't know
true as
people.
well. And I think
Yeah.
especially for me, I've had multiple of my friends or people tell me that once they got to know me or once they talked to me, like it's completely different than if they just saw me across the room just from like this. Because I think I tend to give off more of a serious look or like unapproachable look. But once people get to know me, they're like, oh, you're like completely different than what I thought.
Yeah. Isn't that such an interesting dynamic?
Yeah,
Like the way people perceive us versus how we actually are. And
exactly.
we can never
And we
predict how
can,
a person
yeah,
sees us. Yeah.
yeah, we'll never know. Yeah.
Yeah. We can also like we'll do things and in our heads we might think, oh, that was like the right thing to do, or that was like good intention or something. And then
Mhm.
someone else might see it and they're like,
Might see it
they don't
completely differently. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. That also just kind of throws me off, like, wow.
I think it's also based off people and like maybe how they grew up or how they see certain things. Like to someone, like you said, you think you're doing something right, or but to them it could be the complete opposite.
Yeah, that is true. I can't help but notice the really cool artwork in the back. Did you make
Yeah.
that?
No, I didn't. My cousin did actually, and she gave it to me.
It's
Yeah.
really cool. What is it?
It's like the shape of Palestine, and then it has, of course, the colors of the flag, and then it has like eyes, and it's they're kind of like crying, but I guess it could also look like blood almost. But it's just the shape of the country and then the colors of the flag, and yeah, I guess it's
Yeah.
just like a cool piece of artwork she created, and I was lucky enough to get it from her. So
Yeah, it is really cool.
thank you.
Man, the Palestine stuff. Um, it's cool to see how much it's, taken public opinion
Hmm. I
lately.
feel like I mean I'm really happy how things are right now in terms of like the students and like the change that they're trying to make and everything they're trying to do. I feel like, when people don't listen to your voice, you have to take action. So that's how change is made, honestly.
Yeah, it's true. I remember it's interesting how I came to met you because guilt, nobody likes to feel guilty,
Mhm.
but guilt can motivate you to do things, to take action. And I felt
Yeah.
really guilty about the whole thing going on in Palestine. And so I got involved. And
Yeah.
step by step by step, eventually, like, I'm in different rooms with different people. I met you, I met so many different people. It's like,
Yeah.
wow, you never know what your emotions or thoughts can lead you to.
Mhm.
All the different people you'll meet, all the different experiences you'll have.
Yeah, and I think for me recently too, like I know that night we talked, I mentioned to you that like or you had brought it up that your this semester socially you felt like you hadn't really gotten much out of that semester. And so for me, it's usually the same. And around that time period, I was going to a lot of meetings. I was like meeting a lot of new people. And I feel like even with the sad events that has led me to go to those type of meetings, it's brought a lot of new experiences for me.
Yeah. I love how you mentioned that because that's something I wanted to talk to you about. Like, yeah, this semester was just so dry socially.
Yeah.
I would talk to people and I'd like try to get the conversation going, and they just wouldn't
They just
reciprocate.
wouldn't
They just wouldn't give that
reciprocate.
energy back.
Yeah.
So, when I joined the different orgs and met the different people, it was such a relief to
Hmm.
find people like yourself who were reciprocating, who were like
Yeah.
engaging in the conversation, who were like actually showing some energy. Um, but yeah, that was a relief. That was a relief.
Yeah,
So
I
you're
think
right.
it's always a really nice feeling when you do put yourself out there to try and conversate with someone and they give like the same energy or even more energy back. Like me personally, because we've already discussed, I wouldn't take the first step to really put myself out there. But the like rare times that I have, it's good to know that someone feels the same and they're willing to talk to you and they're willing to like, continue a conversation that can possibly lead to like a friendship or, something new.
Yeah, and because I consider myself kind of ambiverted in the middle between
Mhm.
introverted and extroverted. And I remember when I was younger, I was a little more shy. And I would want people to talk to me, and sometimes they would come up to me and they'd talk to me, but I wouldn't give them that energy back because I was just so
Oh,
shy. But like
yeah.
deep down, I wanted them to keep talking to me,
Yeah,
and I kind
yeah.
of wanted. But so it makes me reflect. It's like maybe there's people out there like that where maybe I was giving them that energy, but they weren't ready to reciprocate it.
Yeah.
So that's just another thing on my mind.
Yeah, that's always on my mind as well. And I guess that's also why sometimes I don't take the first step because I feel like people nowadays are less willing to hold that conversation. They'll say, "Oh, hi," give you a basic response, and then they're hoping the conversation just ends. They don't really want to continue it.
Yes, I never thought about things in this way. Then I was talking to someone and they told me I don't go up to people and talk to them because I feel like I'm annoying them.
Yeah.
And I never thought of things in that perspective. But then when they told that to me, it's like, oh, damn. Never
I
mind. I don't know.
I think a lot of people think like that actually. And I think that's what like that stems from like that builds the fear for them to not approach someone first. They don't want to be seen as annoying or weird or, you know, a bother to someone else.
A bother. That is a good word right
Yeah.
there. Yeah. Something that I've been reflecting on for the past few days is that back in January, I went to Turkey and I bought
Mhm.
a ring and it was cool. It was cool. But that same ring, about 10 years ago when I first went to Turkey, I saw it. I just didn't get it. And then the third time I went to Turkey, I saw it again and I really wanted it,
Yeah.
but I lowballed it too much that
Okay.
the shopkeeper kicked me out. He's like, just leave.
Oh.
But I was like, damn, I really wanted that ring. And then, as I mentioned, I just got it in January.
Mhm.
And I went up to like some jeweler. I was like, hey, do you have this ring? I showed him a picture. He didn't have it, but through some Grand Bazaar contacts, he ended up getting it like in 15 minutes. And so I got the ring and it was cool, but I never really thought much about it until recently. I was looking at it and I was like, wow, this was always a passive desire in my head. Like I always wanted it, but I didn't want it where it was like a focus in my head. I
Right.
never once sat down for a minute and prayed about getting that ring.
Yeah.
But still, somehow, Allah got me that ring.
You got the ring.
Almost 10 years later, it's like, whoa, I never prayed for it ever. It was just a passive desire in my head. And it just happened. It just made me think about gratitude and how you can never be grateful enough. And
Mhm.
that there's so many things that come our way and we don't even ask for them, but we want them. It's like, oh wow, it just happened to happen. It's like, damn, can never be grateful enough.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I guess that ring was meant for you. I mean, you said you
Yeah.
saw it, you got it after 10 years?
Yeah, nearly 10 years. It's crazy.
Wow. I think nowadays, like, when I see things like that, I guess I'll say, like, physical items, like, if you're shopping or you see something in the past, even if I really wanted it, there would be times where I would be like, "No, like, it's okay, like, I won't get it now. Maybe, like, I'll get it in a month, or maybe I'll do this, or maybe that." I feel like now I've kind of changed my perspective in that way, and if I'm, like, really desiring something, honestly, I just get it because I feel like in the past I would hope that, "Oh, maybe it'll still be there. Maybe this or maybe that," and I'll be like, "If it's meant for me, it'll be there when I come back tomorrow." And then I come back tomorrow and it's not there and I'm like, "Okay, I wasn't meant to get it." But now I kind of just allow myself to like, you know what? I want that, so I'm going to allow myself to have it and I'm going to get it for myself. Does that make
Yeah,
sense?
It's like that Charles Bukowski thing. You just take action. You made it happen.
Yeah.
And I like that you mentioned that actually, because Carl Jung, I don't remember exactly what he wrote, but he talked
Mhm.
about this was like there's some people out there, there's many people out there, they're like, oh, it was just destiny.
Yeah,
Whether like if it didn't happen, it's kind of like a lazy excuse, like, oh, it's just destiny.
exactly.
But I like how you mentioned this. You're like, you know what? I'm just gonna like go for it, type of a thing.
The way
Just
you
take the
described it
action.
too, you said a lazy excuse. I guess that you could use it that way too. Like I'm saying, "Oh, if it's there again, then it'll be meant for me." But honestly, that's just a lazy excuse for you not to get it. For you to kind of just put it in your mind like you're trying to give it like a greater reasoning or greater power, but really it's just a lazy excuse.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I felt like I was quite the materialist for a few years. Like I had a phase,
Mhm.
but I kind of just got out of that phase.
Like
Have you
recently?
ever? Yeah, like maybe like a year ago, 2 years ago. But have you ever gone through like a materialistic phase? And if so, what was that like for you?
Honestly, no. I
Oh,
consider myself a person that is not materialistic at all. I think it
nice.
has to do with like the way I grew up or the way I have like my view on things. I have never really been a materialistic person. I don't really like splurge or buy myself a lot or things that usually are like, you know, I don't splurge on myself that way. Um, so I would consider myself not a materialistic person. But as I mentioned to you recently, I'd say over the past year or so, I have like kind of changed my mindset in a way like if I really want that, I'm not going to give myself the excuse that, oh, you know what, if it's there in a month, then I'll get it. I just think like, you know what, I do really want that, so I'm gonna get it. Yeah.
Splurge. I haven't heard that word in a minute.
Splurge, yeah.
Another thing we talked about when I met you was like the hijab, what it's been
Mhm.
like for you to wear it. Um, yeah, well, what's the story again? You know, what made you want to do it?
Honestly, it's not really a crazy story. It's not I guess not a unique story. It's kind of just I've been thinking about the hijab for a while. I'm 21 now, and I'd say like maybe 2 years ago or last Ramadan, not this recent Ramadan. I'd say the last one. I really thought about the hijab, and I thought, you know what, I really want to wear it. Like I had these thoughts and you know the want to do it, but I never took the action. I would have random feelings here and there of, you know what, you should put it on, you should wear it. I want to do this, I want to do that. But I just never took like the steps to do it. But then this year, on literally like on New Year's Day, I just said, you know what, just do it. I was going out with my friends and I said, okay, it's New Year's, just just start. And I put it and I've been wearing it ever since.
Wow, that's cool. No regrets, eh?
No regrets. No regrets with this one now.
Nice, nice. Yeah. Do you feel like it's made you more confident in any way?
Mm, that's a good question, honestly. I don't know if it's made me more confident, but I know that it has made me, I don't know how to put this. Like before in the past, I would go out and even if I think um superficially, oh, I dressed good today, I look good today, my hair looks good today. Sometimes I would still be like a little bit cautious or concerned of how I'm viewed to people. But now that I'm wearing the hijab, I don't feel like that at all. Like in the past, if I would walk into like a room full of people I don't know, I would be a little bit self-conscious or something. But now, I don't know why, but I don't feel that at all. I'm
Huh?
not like self-conscious anymore. I don't have the big worry of what people think of me or how do I look to someone. So I think that has changed. I don't know if I would describe it as new self-confidence or something, but a lot has changed in a good way.
That is cool. Of course, this comparison can't be made to like the hijab, but I kind of felt that way when I shaved my head. It's like,
Yeah, I
oh,
mean,
like it's almost for me at least. It was almost like a like an I don't care how I'm perceived.
yeah. I mean, that can be a good comparison. I mean, also it has to do with your hair, so anything
Yeah,
that is a major change like that, I feel like, it's gonna bring new experiences.
yeah. I'm maybe you can relate to this as well, but I definitely feel like the types of clothes you wear,
Hmm.
they have an effect on you. Especially like I don't really wear a whole lot of traditional clothes,
Hmm.
but I have noticed like if I wear a jubba or a thobe or whatever you call it,
Yeah.
to the masjid, I'm like, wow, I'm a Muslim kind of a thing. Like I feel it.
Yeah.
But in regular clothes, like, oh, just regular clothes.
I think that's actually a good take. I definitely do think like the clothes you wear changes your view or changes how people view you, and also can change like heavily like how you see yourself or how you want to carry yourself. Me personally, like even before I started to wear the hijab, I've always tried to dress super modestly. And I mean, I guess that also comes with, the religion and whatnot, but I always want to carry myself a certain way. And I think clothes, like, that has a lot to do with it. And even if you take the religion aspect out of it, like, if you just think of fashion sense, like, what do you want people to see? Like, your clothes can say a lot, in my opinion. Like, the certain fashion you choose, like how you dress, like, it it represents you.
Yes, definitely does.
Yeah.
Most definitely does. Man, another thing that I wanted to discuss with you was you speak fluent Spanish. That's correct, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say like maybe 90% fluent. My mom, she's Mexican, and then of course my dad, he's Palestinian. So my mom, she did teach me Spanish, but my dad, he did not. He didn't teach me Arabic. So sadly, I cannot speak Arabic. I understand very, very little, like the most basic things. But Spanish, I can speak it. Like I can hold a conversation with someone. I can read it, I can write it, I can understand it. I'd say pretty fluently.
That's cool. How
Thank
do
you.
you know how you say butterfly in Spanish?
I'm pretty sure it's mariposa,
Mariposa. Do you know how to say it
but
in Arabic?
no, I do not.
I know it sounds really cool in Arabic. I think it's like Farvashir or something like that. Fadvashe. I don't know. But my favorite word in Persian is butterfly. It's padvane. And in Turkish, it's kelebek. And all those sound really cool. And then it sounds really lame in Urdu. It's titli. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, also like with Spanish and Arabic, there's like a lot of similarities with certain words. So like the language with certain words, they might be similar. And so if I hear someone say it, I'm like, oh, like I know that word. And then you kind of just put two and two together because I
Yeah.
already have the knowledge of the Spanish language.
Do you ever think in Spanish?
Yeah. Sometimes I do think in Spanish a lot actually. And sometimes like before I respond to someone, I actually think of like the response in Spanish, even though I'm going to speak English. So
Wow.
I think, I mean, I feel like most bilingual people might deal with that.
Yeah. For me, I'm always curious. I always ask people that speak more than one language what language they think in. For myself, it's just always been English. I only talk
Oh,
to my mom or my grandmothers in Urdu, and that's about it. Everything else is just English, English,
so you
English.
only think in English.
Yeah, I mean, I could think in Urdu, but it's like I just don't do that.
Is it like
Sometimes
harder for
actually,
you?
it's not harder. It's just not something I do.
It doesn't come to you naturally.
Yeah, but what's interesting is I sometimes think in Turkish, and I only speak to my cat in Turkish, which is kind of weird.
So
Or
you can
yeah,
speak
it's
Turkish?
yeah, but and that's the only other language. Like sometimes I'm just thinking in Turkish, which is strange to me. Like, oh, why that language? But yeah, it just is what it is.
Maybe like you feel this, like you're comfortable with the language, and sometimes you just find yourself thinking in it. Or like you said, you talk to your cat in Turkish.
Yeah, it's always Turkish with them. It's never English. It's so interesting.
Wow, that is
Yeah.
interesting, honestly.
I always tell the Turks my soul is Turkish, so maybe it's
Maybe
something to do with
it
that.
is. Maybe.
Yeah, yeah, man. Do you? How was that storm for you, by the way? The
Oh, that
tornado.
storm. Actually, we didn't, there was not really any damage here. I live in Katy,
Yeah,
so I mean, it got pretty dark and it was raining and super hard and the wind was super strong, but there was not really any damage here. Like we were totally fine. I don't even think we lost power or anything. Um, but I know like deeper in Houston, there was some pretty bad damage.
yeah. Here in Cyprus too. Like I was driving by, and there's giant trees that have been uprooted. I'm like, oh my
Yeah.
God. And
Yeah,
I was at,
because
yeah. Go ahead.
sorry. I think because there was
Okay.
like a tornado, so it caused a lot of bad damage.
It was really funny. I was at River Oaks last night, and I was talking to this guy who lives in downtown. And he's like, "Yeah, man, the city, it looks like one of those scenes after a superhero fight. The windows are
Yeah,
shattered and everything." I'm like, wow, that's a good way to put it.
I actually saw a lot of videos on social media of people from Houston, like downtown Houston, I think, and they were like recording from like a high floor from their apartment, and the sky just looked crazy. It was super dark, and the wind and like the clouds just looked really like honestly, it looked unreal. Like what you said, like a scene in a movie.
Yeah, it's situations like that I've noticed for myself ground me, and
Hmm.
I just kind of disconnect from the outside world. I'm just like there with my family, sitting in front of the fireplace. Wow, real life. I remember
Yeah.
feeling that way, especially when that freeze happened a few years ago, like the little
Oh yeah.
snowstorm. I got sick, but I loved it because I was with my family in the living room by the fireplace, reading a book with my cat. That was it. It felt so human.
Yeah, I mean, for my family, I'll just speak for our personal experience. We actually really liked that time, even though I know it was bad for a lot of other people, because, well, I was born here in Houston, but I grew up in Illinois. So I'm used to the cold and I'm used to the snow, and so is like the majority of my family. So when the freeze happened, we were actually pretty content with it. We were happy. We were having like a lot of fun, even though we had like no power, nothing. Um, but we would like make fire, we were like enjoying ourselves. To us, it was like a vacation, but I know for a lot of other people, it was like a really rough time.
Yeah, I know it was rough. Yeah, you're right. But like you, I really enjoyed that. It was a good
Yeah.
fun time for me. Actually, one of my baby cousins, he was literally born like the day of that all
Of the
happening.
freeze.
Yeah, and he came
Oh,
to our house because we were the only ones with like a working fireplace.
yeah.
It was like, wow, this newborn child, he's by the fireplace. It was just good
He's experienced
memories.
all these new things on his first day.
Yeah. I didn't know you were from, or you grew up in Illinois. That's cool. What
Yeah,
was that like?
I was born here. I was born in Houston, and then I moved to Illinois. I think I was a few months old, maybe 6 months or something. And then I lived in Illinois until I was 11. And then I moved back to Houston right when I turned 12. And then I've been here ever since.
When I was 5, I moved to Texas from New York. And I
Mm.
always considered myself a New Yorker. But then I met this guy in Austin, and I told him, like, I'm from New York. And he's like, when'd you come here? I said 5. He's like, no, man, you're a Texan.
You're a
And for
Texan.
some reason, when he said that to me, it really hit me. And I was like, yeah, he's right. Texas has made me more than New York has. Do you feel the same way?
Um, I kind of feel like Illinois is my home, even though I was born here, because I spent my whole childhood in Illinois. I mean, I spent a good 12 years there, so I grew up there. And Illinois is so different than Houston. I mean, my experiences in Illinois are so different. I got to experience like nature so much more. All the parks I went to, like all the animals I saw. Like when I grew up, I vividly remember like going outside. Like I used to play outside every day. I used that was like a big part of my childhood, playing outside. And I remember when it would like get dark and we would catch fireflies. And then I remember coming to Houston and I have never seen a firefly here. I there's so many things in Illinois that I'm so thankful for that I got to experience that I don't even see on a daily basis here in Houston.
Yeah, I have never seen a firefly here either.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
how would you catch them? You just have like a little jar,
no, I mean,
or
I would catch them with my hands. I mean, they're
oh,
little tiny bugs, and then
yeah,
when it's dark, you can see because, of course, they light up. And I mean, some people, yeah, they catch them with jars if they collect a lot, and then, but I would just, I just catch them with my hands, and then I look at them for a little bit, and then I just let them go.
wow. Were you outside of Chicago?
It was like a small town, like 6 hours from Chicago, very small town. It was
Well,
called Carbondale. You might not know of
Carbondale.
it at all, but
I don't.
yeah, it's super,
Wow.
super small town, but
Is it also far from the tomb of Abraham Lincoln?
I actually don't know. I'm
Yeah,
not sure.
if I'm not mistaken, he's buried there. And I was like, whoa, I had no idea.
Yeah,
Like
because I think
Illinois,
he grew up in Illinois as well.
yeah, it's a cool place. I went to Chicago last summer for my cousin's wedding. I was like, wow, Chicago felt like a city, you know? And
Yeah,
Illinois
Chicago is
is,
very, very city-like,
yeah,
but there's so many beautiful things in Illinois, like the nature itself.
I believe you. I
Yeah.
do. We're coming to a close. Got like 5 minutes left about.
Okay.
I enjoyed this conversation, Aaron. This was cool, kind of went to all these different places. I'm curious, do you have any closing thoughts? Anything you felt like you wanted to say but didn't get a chance to, or something on your mind that you wanted to express?
Um, I guess I would just say like as well, I enjoyed this conversation. And I guess thank you for like reaching out to me because I usually don't put myself out there. And I feel like if you wouldn't have offered, this opportunity to just talk casually, going on your podcast, I would have never thought of like doing that or anything. So I appreciate you having this conversation with me and allowing me to do this.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad that you could make it. I'm glad we could talk. Like I mentioned, I love the prospect of meeting new people and getting to like
Hmm.
talk to them and get to know them. I think it's so cool because going back to that thing about the semester being kind of dry socially,
Yeah.
what I realized was, you know what? These people aren't giving me the energy. Just get up and leave and find a new group of people. And it's just such a hopeful aspect because eventually
Yeah.
you'll find them.
Eventually,
Wow.
yeah.
And it changes your attitude and everything. So you have to like accept that, hey, it's not working here. Get up and leave and you'll find it. So it's been cool.
Yeah, of course. Like acceptance has to come first. You have to realize, you know what, maybe I'm not gonna find what I want here. I'll move on and try with someone else.
Yeah. Great way to put it. Great way to put it.
Of course.
But yeah, um, good talking to you. And I suppose until next time, eh? Inshallah.
Yes, very good talk. Thank you for having me.
For sure.